Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Missy Vanderpool with Henderson Economic Development, and joining me today is Senator Robby Mills. We're here to talk about Robby's journey as an entrepreneur and his work in our community. I want to give a big shout out to our partners with Grow West, Madisonville, Hopkins County Innovate and Caffeinate, Christian County Innovate and Caffeinate, and Murray-Callaway County Innovate and Caffeinate. Thanks for having us today. It's an honor for me to introduce you guys to Robby. Robby has been married to his beautiful wife, Vicki, for 31 years, and they have 3 grown children. And Robby, 31 is the magic number for us.
Yep.
Robby has been with his family-owned business of New Look Cleaners for 31 years. He served in local government for 22 years. And then in 2016, he was elected to the House of Representatives. In 2018, elected to the Senate for Kentucky. But in the last couple of years, a lot of things people may not know is Robby's very involved in our community, and he has started a community development organization called New Works. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Robby and let him tell you a little about his story.
Good. Thank you, Missy. It's awesome. Thank you for joining us. And we're coming to you from Henderson. And once again, I'm Robby Mills. And our businesses, I thought I'd just tell a little bit about our businesses and our story that's related to our businesses and entrepreneurship. Just a couple of things that I hopefully can weave through my story are 4 entrepreneurial principles that I've grown to lean on as I work through business and business ideas. The first one is to be persistent. The second is to fail forward. The third is to plan and make a list. And the fourth thing is to develop relationships. And you'll hear this woven through my story as you learn a little bit about what we've done in our businesses and over the last 30 some odd years. But I started out of high school in 1985. That means I'm 50 something and I'm 50-ish. And it's been a year at our community college. And as you all know, that's a great place to go when you can't afford college, and it's a great value, and we all had those community colleges in our area. So I spent a year in community college, and then I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, to Oral Roberts University. Through the 3 years that I was there, I met my wife, and we went through business school together. One of the first niches into my life on entrepreneurship that really connected was a class, and this was in the late 80s, and they were just starting to offer entrepreneurial classes in colleges and universities. But I took an entrepreneur class, and a gentleman there, his name was Dr. Eugene Swearingen, and he had all kinds of stories, and he was what, they didn't have the terminology serial entrepreneur back then, but he was definitely that. Probably the main story that I remember from Dr. Swearingen was, back in the 70s and 80s, the oil fields were booming. They needed a piece of equipment that would drill and dig a small hole that they could lay a pipe in and cover it over easily. He and his friends saw this need, and they invented something that is now, today, it's called the ditch witch. And the ditch witch is a piece of equipment that just about every excavating contractor and anybody that works in the oil fields has a ditch witch. And he owned part of that business and worked through the whole process of developing the ditch witch. He had probably 20 other stories like that where he developed ideas and went through, and we just learned about how to talk through and think through ideas and develop businesses and business ideas. From that point on, I was kind of hooked on being an entrepreneur. And looking back, I came from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad's brothers owned gas stations in the Henderson area. They also owned a bulk oil development place that actually brought the oil and gas to all the gas stations. And that was before gas stations were making a lot of money. They were, I can remember, the main thing my dad sold other than gas was cigarettes. And so it wasn't like a C-store back then. But my mom's side of the family had a hardware store in the 50s and 60s in the east end of Henderson. And then my grandfather also had a painting, construction, and contracting business that I rode around with him some during the summer. So I was pretty much, always around people that own their own business, that develop ideas and serve people with their abilities. But after I graduated from college in 1989, me and my wife had a super busy month. We graduated college, we picked up everything, moved back to Henderson, and got married all in a month. So it was pretty amazing month, but that was 31 years ago, and we've been in Henderson doing business and serving in our community ever since that point. From 1989 to 2000, me and my father worked together in New Look Cleaners, and we have locations in Madisonville. Those that are in Madisonville know us there. We also have had locations in Owensboro and Morganfield as well. But through the 11 years from 1989 to 2000, really and truly, my dad was kind of a mentor to me. He was kind of the steady hand that kept me balanced, but we would work through a lot of different ideas, and we grew and learned. We grew the dry cleaning business, and ended up by 2000, we had locations in Owensboro, Madisonville, Morganfield, and Henderson. We saw, from that, I really kind of learned, my dad had a lot of ups and downs in his business career, and he always taught me, how to, he really modeled more than he taught persistence. And I can remember way back when, one time we were wanting to do something and build a building, and went to the bank, and it was back when interest rates were like 17%. I mean, amazing if you think about it compared to what interest rates are today. But he went to the bank and did all the paperwork and everything, and actually got turned down. And I can just remember some of the conversations in our house about him being turned down for the business loan. But it was disappointing. But a year later, he went back and applied again. The interest rates had actually dropped a bunch, and he actually got the money, and we ended up building the building and doing what we wanted to do. But so persistence pays, and I think in entrepreneurship, a lot of times people have great ideas. Sometimes the timing's not just right, but you can't really give up on your ideas, and you need to continue to persist and try to, tweak the idea a little bit and then try it again. So I've always been the kind of a persistent person, and obviously that works in sales and politics and everything. So around 2000, we saw the dry cleaning business somewhat changing, and we felt like we needed to diversify. So we thought that buying a carpet cleaning business that is a national franchise carpet cleaning business would fit good with the dry cleaning business. And over the next 3 years, I spent pretty much 100% of my time on this carpet cleaning business. It was a frustrating time in my life. I mean, there was a lot of times when I was just felt like I was just doing manual labor. But the interesting thing about that business, was that one day I ended up in a lady's basement sucking up water, and this guy walked down and started measuring the basement. He didn't really tell me who he was, but right before he left, he said, "Hey, along with your bill, could you figure how much it would cost to replace these baseboards and paint the baseboards and replace this carpet? Just give me one bill and, make it all simple." And I said, I was thinking back to my grandfather's time as a painting contractor, and I thought, yeah, I can do that. So I said, yeah, I'll do that. So I put together the bid and sent it in to him, and come to find out, this gentleman was a Farm Bureau insurance adjuster. And this was, like I said, in around 2003, 2004. And, after talking to him, turning him a bid, he said, we need some honest guys that can just help homeowners when they have problems in their house. And, and not really understanding that, I was like, yeah, that's not a problem. So I did that for about a year and kept like one or two of these jobs going. And, it was interesting, and learned a lot about construction. And come to find out, that ended up starting a new business that we have had ever since this year. And I recently have sold the business. It is called New Look Restoration. And so we ended up being a general contractor that was at the very beginning of a niche construction franchise called, that has names like ServPro, Service Master, Paul Davis, and things of that nature. So that was, kind of, a time of failing, always having frustration in my day of business, but yet it led me to an opportunity and another business opportunity of New Look Restoration, which has done really well over the last 16 years. During the 16 years of New Look Restoration, we have grown, and we've had as many as 10 carpenters working for us all over Western Kentucky, and we were in and out of folks' kitchens and bathrooms dealing with the catastrophes of water damage. And one of the things that I learned throughout that managing of the water damage business is that you've got to make plans, you got to make lists. If you want to be accurate, you've got to take down information and get it in front of you. And I think a lot of times you find entrepreneurs that are kind of daydreamers that will come in and say, oh, I'd like to do this, oh, I'd like to do that. But if you don't put something down on paper or put it in your computer and make it something that you look at every day and think about, then they're just words and they're not real plans. So every day, we would manage in New Look Restoration from 20 to 30 jobs at a time. So we're just constantly, juggling balls, talking to people, planning, ordering things, the normal contractor. But sometimes where contractors miss the boat is that they're not able to do all of that. And I think making lists, putting things down on paper is very, very important. And I've trained and drilled that into all my guys is that, look, if somebody asks you about something, make a note, bring it back, let's get it down on paper. So that was something I think that was very important, integral to our success at New Look Restoration. And customers like it too. They're like, hey, you're writing it down, you're actually listening to me. And that was something I think is very important in life in general. And then finally, through New Look Restoration, one of the biggest things that we all know about business is developing relationships, developing partnerships, and being friendly and showing the best side of you all the time. And we did that. I treated our employees like family. We, helped them through good times and bad times. We loaned them money. We did, just the small little things that are important in life and in small business. And that's the part that, as far as developing relationships and the importance of that. So that is kind of my business background as far as New Look Cleaners, New Look Restoration. In the midst of all that, I've also dabbled in rental property. I actually had up to 22 units of rental property, and we were able to, God just kind of worked this out. We were able to slowly sell those pieces of rental property to help pay and put my kids through school. So, when you put your best foot forward, when you treat people well, when you make plans, and when you don't let failure pull you down and disappoint you, things work out. And you end up 30 years down the road thinking, wow, how did everything all get together? But it all did pull together. And real quickly, I don't know if I've got a couple more minutes, but would like to share that probably one of the biggest principles in my life as far as community work is just giving to your community, whether it's time or money or whatever. And I thought that about 24 years ago, one of the best ways to give back to my community was serving on the city commission. And we had some good years on the city commission, about 18 years of helping guide and lead Henderson forward. And then about 4 years ago, I decided to make a foray into kind of partisan politics, and served a term in the House of Representatives and State House of Representatives, and now currently serving in the Kentucky Senate. And of course, we all know the challenges that face our state, fiscal challenges, as well as all the COVID issues and the dividedness that we find ourselves in both state government and in national government. So those are challenges as well. But many of the principles that I talked about this morning, especially developing relationships, treating people well, disagreeing but not being disagreeable, those are all things that come back and make you a success and make the things that you're working on a success. And finally, one of the things I mentioned that I sold my business, New Look Restoration, about 2 months ago to a trusted employee, and he had worked for me. He was like my son. He is still like my son, and we sold to him, and we invested a lot of time into Jordan, and I think he's going to do really, really well. So that leaves me with a little bit of time between political things and our dry cleaning business still to help mentor my son, who has come back to New Look Cleaners probably within the last year, and that's going to be a great fun time to be able to teach him and mentor him like my father did through business, and hopefully we'll do other things other than just the dry cleaning business. And then Missy mentioned about a community development project that we are just getting going here the last year or so called New Works. And we are going to start a community development business in the east end of Henderson, which is kind of an underserved area. We've been involved in a group called the Audubon Kids Zone, and this is a kind of a mentoring child development organization that is really reaching out to 35 to 40 underserved families in our community that just needs a little help to get them to college. And we are going to join the Audubon Kids Zone and try to help these families move forward in housing, possibly in entrepreneurship, and other things that are needed in this underserved community. And so I think I'm kind of moving from being an entrepreneur to being a social entrepreneur, if you've heard that terminology before, and we're really excited about what the future holds. So I've packed a lot into about 10 or 15 minutes, and if you happen to have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or even after this, always would be available to answer questions related to entrepreneurship or local government.
We've had our first question come in, Robby, and the question is, what was your favorite part of working with your father?
To be honest with you, if you talk to people that have worked with their families or in family-owned businesses, I mean, it can be pretty volatile at times because it's like there's no filter. It's just like whatever happens, happens. But I just think it was just really important to see my dad daily, to see his character, and to see that it's not just, hey, I'm dad, but he is actually a real person that had real challenges, but also had real, happy times in his life. So it was good to be with your father and also my mother in our businesses to do life together.
Yeah, I think working with family, I can imagine that some unconditional love, no matter what happens, that there's still love there. So I don't know if we have any more questions coming in, but we loved being with you guys today. Thank you so much, Robby, for being here. Robby does have a passion. Oh, I'm sorry, I do have another question coming in, so I won't end yet. What is the best advice for someone starting a business?
Well, I think it's important to think through things thoroughly, but also realize that you can't overthink things. There's an element of risk. To be an entrepreneur, you really can't be, risk adverse. You have to just sometimes jump in. You got a good idea, you think about it, you get some counsel, and then you just jump in, and then you've got to kind of tweak and change some things. Obviously, when you're borrowing money and doing some big planning things, you've got to make sure your deal is correct. But also, I think sometimes people can just get paralyzed by safety. I mean, in today's world, people are very concerned about safety, COVID, all of that. But at some point, you just kind of got to move forward and take a step and trust yourself. And I think that is the difference between people that have always had a business idea,
Yeah.
and people that end up implementing. And, you know, once again, you can't be afraid to fail, and you got to plan to fail, and have some cushion to pay for the failure, and to move forward, tweak your plan, and you know, try it again.
And I think sometimes the failures probably teach you the most.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
And
agree.
you're going to have that. Everybody has that. And you do have to be a risk taker, I think, because sometimes Robbie and I were talking beforehand. I'm definitely not the creative, but my son is, and he's willing to take the risk that his mom wasn't always willing to take. So, are there any other questions that we've got coming in? I don't see any more coming in. So again, thanks for joining us. Thanks to our partners for having us. I do know that next week you guys will have Scott Allen, and Scott Allen is with Wisdom Tree Technologies, and he will be joining you guys next Wednesday, September 30th at 8:30. So join us then. Thanks again to everybody for having us.
So yeah, thank you.
And then they'll